Welcome back to Touchline Banter, your favorite and the best footy podcast on the internet. I'm one of your hosts, Cheyenne Karimi, alongside my good friend Ruben Chavez and my co-host Ruben. It's the MLB trade deadline. We're talking baseball today.
Yeah, we're doing a whole baseball show. Sorry, guys. Plot twist.
Shane Bieber, Cy Young winner, going to the Jays. Give me your thoughts, Ruben.
I mean, Shane Bieber's a Cy Young winner the way that Alec Manoah is a Cy Young winner at this point.
As a Yankees fan, give us your thoughts.
No, it's a good move. Honestly, look, I'm an advocate in sports. I know this is like a jokey detour, but I'm an advocate in sports for teams pushing in when they have a chance. People can call me like a bandwagon because some of the teams I support. Shout out to the Lakers and Real Madrid. But ultimately, I respect teams that win and that want to win. And I think that the move that the Jays made, that's a statement of intent. They're like, okay, we could stand pat. We're top of the AL. We've been on a run, but we need arms, because if they didn't get arms, and they probably still need a few more in the bullpen.
Yeah, they need one or two at least.
But if they didn't do anything, you're basically just rolling the dice again with more or less the same squad you've been rolling the dice with. And that's uninspiring. And if you're a fan, how do you keep showing up for that? How do you keep buying jerseys and tickets and spending money at the stadium? So I like it. The Jays haven't won a World Series since I was born, basically. Back in 93, right? So it's
I think 90. What was the last one? 96, 97?
No, they went back to back in 92, 93.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't even born.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically, I wasn't born yet because the World Series happens in October, November. My birthday's in December. But yeah, that year was the last year that they won. And so I think it's great. I think it's good. I respect teams that go all in. I don't respect teams that play it safe or try to maximize profit. So good for them. Shane Bieber's a risk, but it could be good. I mean, he's a Cy Young winner,
Yeah, exactly.
You never lose that ability.
100%. It's a small tangent we're going off. We like to have fun. For people who don't watch baseball in the Toronto Blue Jays, just know that it's been absolute ass and suffering to the point that our GMs, Shapiro and Atkins, they were labeled as Shatkins. So it's good. Jays are first in the league, or at least the AL East.
I'm not sure if they're the best record overall. They might be actually, but they were in the AL they are in the AL still, because they beat the shit out of the Tigers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but you got to take gambles, low risk, high reward, and you got to invest in your team and strike an iron's hot. And speaking of investing,
well, I was going to say, and another link to that, it's like how we were talking about yesterday with Chelsea just buying all these players. The MLB, I love when people talk about prospects. You're talking about an 18-year-old kid who's played high school baseball, and you're like, well, I don't know if we should trade him. He might be the next Justin Verlander. What if you can trade for Justin Verlander now? Or just a really good player now who can win in the next 5 years? You're playing fantasy baseball with this kid who will come up to the majors in 7 years. All right, cool.
That's the thing. I don't get generally in sports with prospects, especially when you're at a point and you can win. Now, you're good. You're first in whatever league, and it's oh, well, we have this kid. It's listen, there are some prospects that you just know, right? I don't know. In baseball, it's there was the Paul Skeens who recently came up, and then in basketball, we know there's the LeBrons and the Wembanyamas and stuff like that. But then it's if it's really some 18-year-old kid like Ruben's saying, who as what's the Stephen A. Smith thing? He's smelling like baby powder and Similac behind his ears and all that. It's if you can get Verlander literally right now, why not? I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not in sports. Maybe that's why. But speaking of investing and buying into your team when the iron is hot, striking when iron is hot, we're talking about transfers this episode. Last episode, we hope you watched. We did a recap of the Club World Cup. Talked about some other teams and Real Madrid and what they did. This episode, we're focusing on transfers that happened, rumors, our thoughts just generally under the radar moves. Is there a conspiracy in the Premier League? Is Newcastle being handicapped? I don't know. A lot of things we can cover. I guess we'll start with big moves. Ruben, there's a lot of big ones that went on just in the Premier League alone. There's a lot to talk about. Is there anywhere specific you want to start? I mean, Gyokeres is probably the most recent one and the biggest one.
I think if we're going to do a deep dive on one, Gyokeres has to be one. And we can tag on, the business that Liverpool has done and City has done. It's so weird because like Manchester City, most of their players they bought before the Club World Cup, so it's like we've already kind of seen Turkey, and some of their new players.
Reinders,
Reinders.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel as new, but like they looked good. They didn't look perfect yet, and obviously, like this podcast is a big believer in the bald fraud truth. So I don't know if Man City will be back, but at the very least, I can say that their signings look positive and look like players that can make an impact. Whereas the Liverpool ones feel so much newer because a lot of them happened during the Club World Cup and at the end of it. But the newest one obviously is Gyokeres. Let's start there. I have a Spurs fan friend who I've mentioned on the pod before, Jake. He watched the first North London derby to take place outside of the UK, where Spurs beat Arsenal 1-0 for like the Hong Kong Cup, I think it was called, or something. So Hong Kong Cup champions, you'll never sing that, Arsenal. Arteta loves coming second place. But he had a couple like bullet point quick reactions, and one of them was like, I don't know if Gyokeres will be able to do it in the Prem. I'm like, it's a preseason game and he just got there, but okay.
Okay.
But I do like the signing. I've talked to some Arsenal fan friends who are a bit upset that, and we're going to talk about it when it comes to conspiracy talk, but Isak basically put in his desire to leave right after the Gyokeres deal kind of got closed.
Yeah, and he's training at Sociedad now. Like, he's done.
It seems like he's out the door. Like,
yeah, it's when, not if, at this point, which is sad for Newcastle. But
it sucks. Yeah, we'll get to that. But I do think, because from what I've read, the Athletic did a big article on how this transfer kind of went down. It's worth reading if you're interested in transfer dealings and kind of like the sporting director part of it, because it seems like the old sporting directors at Arsenal were really pushing for Šeško.
Yeah,
and it seems like Arteta really wanted Isak, and then he was fine with
Šeško.
Yeah,
he wanted Šeško as well after they couldn't get Isak.
But then they got the new people. Šeško's agent played hardball, and so did Leipzig. And then the new guy was like, well, fuck that. I'll just go for Gyokeres. And Arteta has shown himself, at least if you believe the things that are being reported in the article, he's pretty adaptable. He's like, look, if you get me a 9, depending on the profile, I'll adapt how we're going to play with that 9, but I just need a 9, right? So it's just interesting to see, like, it seemed like from what they're detailing, Šeško was basically right there. Like, they were ready to pull the trigger. And then 11th hour, a little bit too much demand, whatever.
I heard the asking price was also too high because they were asking 90 million and Arsenal didn't want to go that high.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, because I think Šeško has like a clause for like 60 or something. Like it's much lower, but RB wants to get the most out of this player, obviously, and then that's where the hardball kind of comes in. All that to say, I'm excited because Gyokeres has shown that he can score goals. And people can say it's the Portuguese league, whatever. He's had some experience playing in England before. Obviously, he didn't light the world on fire, or else he would have just already been on an English team. But he's a striker that can finish, and I think that's important. Like, finishing is an important trait. And if you have it, the rest of your game and the other attributes that you can need to develop can come after, right? Like, I'm not comparing him to Haaland. I don't think he's a B Haaland, but Haaland's best trait is his finishing. Like, obviously he's a physical monster, but he's a finisher. He's not great with the ball at his feet, but I like it. Arsenal needed to do it, right? Because I do think, and we've talked about it, and maybe this will play into your answer too, they're trusting the process with Arteta. How long can you trust the process for? And if you continue to push getting this number 9, you'll never really know if he can be the guy to get you there. Now that he has a squad that more or less is what he wants, that he's had a huge hand in building, you've invested, I think you need to see something this year. A trophy that is in the Community Shield. Like, even if it is a FA Cup, Carabao Cup double, and like a deep run in the Champions League again, I think that at least shows progress. But to come in second and everything or not win anything again, that might be a death knell. But I like Gyokeres. I think he has some swagger. He's a good finisher. He's not great in the air, which I know some people have like worry, I guess, for, because Arsenal do play a lot from set pieces and corners. But like in my head, I'm like, surely Arteta wants to change the way this attack is developing, because it's become very one-dimensional. We know it's going to go through Odegaard. We know it's going to go down the right with Saka. So maybe this will enable them to play in a different way and get more out of some of these creative players that you would assume can do a little more. I'm positive about the move. I think it, at the very least, if they hadn't brought in Gyokeres or Šeško or someone like that, I would just assume that Arsenal doesn't want to win. Like I would be like, okay, so you're fine with Champions League place being your ceiling, right? So I don't know. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, overall, I think I have the same sentiments. If I was an Arsenal fan, I mean, I follow this guy on YouTube. His name's MGH. Basically, like, it's from like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. He got me into like playing career mode, and he was a really big career mode guy, and he's an Arsenal fan. So I follow him in his videos, and I think he's a pretty like smart guy when it comes to like, at least as a football knowledge and Arsenal fan. And he was saying that, yeah, like we had to get someone, like Ruben said, whether it was Šeško, whether it was Gyokeres, or I don't know who's even left out there. Even
that's the other part. Watkins, like there's not that much of a
exactly. There's barely anyone there. Like Osimhen just even re-signed in Turkey, which he's one that I'm still gonna say I'm really surprised teams haven't gone in for him. I understand there's some like personality, like, you know, worries and his contract and this and that and whatever, but like his goal rate is insane. I know it's Turkey, but again, like even before that,
he was doing it at Napoli. He won a Serie A.
Yeah. Like I don't get it. It's just odd. Like he's good in the air, he's strong, good in the box. But anyway, that's another thing. Just focusing on Gyokeres, I'm like pretty excited about this move for Arsenal, and if I was an Arsenal fan, because I wasn't very big on Šeško, and I get it that like from 16 years old, people have been like salivating over this kid. Pause. Okay, we have to stop the podcast. I'm getting fired like Shannon Sharp did.
Yeah,
they got Unk.
Rip. I'm sad.
Unk. Over his talent. Sorry, YouTube, please don't flag us. Yeah, but he's been like really, really highly touted, and now, you know, he's very big. He's bigger than Gyokeres. He's kind of lanky, but he's very strong and athletic. But his goal ratio, especially in the Bundesliga and in the Champions League, has kind of been like left me asking for more. And especially with the transfer fee that Leipzig were asking for, I really didn't get it. And there's also one thing that I'm kind of more happy if I was an Arsenal fan. I believe in a sporting director like having a vision and like it being like a top-down structure. Like the owner has his role, and then the sporting director, like, you know, knows applies like the philosophy of the owner and the manager and gets those transfers in. And then, you know, obviously the manager has his say as well. If you look at it like in the years of success with Klopp, the organization that runs it for Liverpool, I forgot the name, they basically were finding the transfers for him. But towards the end of Klopp's tenure, when he actually wasn't doing as good, a lot of the signings were Klopp people. So like, you know, like Hakpo, and I even think Nunez was probably one as well. And he's likely being sold off. I haven't been the biggest fan of a lot of players that like Arteta specifically wanted to get in as well. He has pushed for, and he really was pushing for Isak first. We know that didn't work because obviously Newcastle were saying that we weren't selling him. And then I would be very wary on Šeško. I feel like you need a more of a win now player, kind of like we talked about with like, you know, Shane Bieber or you know, like any top pitcher right now is gonna get traded for. You see his goal contribution. Yes, we know it's the Portuguese league, but I think he
did well in the Champions League too. Like,
yeah, exactly, he did very well in the Champions League against Manchester City. So when you look at a player who has that type of talent, I don't necessarily think it just goes away. And yes, he has played in the Premier League before. It was for Coventry. We do understand that, you know, he didn't hit the heights that he was looking for. But I'm really very, very big on this move, and I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but this is giving me kind of vibes of like Thierry Henry, like Dennis Bergkamp type signings when Arsenal made it.
I don't think it's being hyperbolic when he chose the number 14 when he came over, and that's Thierry Henry's number, right? So it's
exactly,
they are at least drawing parallels to that themselves.
Yeah, like. which you don't want to like overhype it too much, and obviously even the guy MGH, he was like, we don't want to like set too high expectations because we don't want it to fail. It's going to be an issue, but just the way Gyokeres like speaks, especially in the interviews after, and he wanted to go there, like he waived a bunch.
It's clear that he wanted to, and the agent also waived fees. Like it was
exactly. there is a lot of stuff on the Athletic, especially on the YouTube website, when they say that Gyokeres isn't necessarily the best fit of a striker into Arsenal's system because he hits a lot on the counter attack, and those are most of the goals he scores. I do agree with that, and I understand what the Athletic and T4 are saying. At the same time, I kind of feel like a player who's that good and has that type of strength, like, he's strong, he can dribble, good in between the lines. I think you can make it work. And a lot of times, I think a specific player who's actually going to do very well with Gyokeres is Martin Odegaard.
I agree.
Last year, Odegaard suffered a lot because of reasons, and a lot of times I think it was because, like, for example, they had Mikel Merino playing as striker, and then Odegaard was looking to play in that through ball in between the lines, and it wasn't there. And obviously, you just had to recycle possession over and over again, and that was an issue.
And people are also saying he was carrying an injury that they just didn't disclose. People were really... And if you look at some of the footage, it seemed like he was favoring one side and not really... But...
So, overall, I mean, to make a long story short, I think, I'm pretty big on this move, and I really think it could draw parallels with some of the better strikers that Arsenal have gone in the past. And if they didn't get a striker again, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you have everything. Your defense is solid. Your keeper's solid. Your wingers, aside from like Martinelli, basically are solid. Even though apparently they're getting Eze now. You have a good midfield. It's what else is there? It's like Havertz isn't. We don't know what Havertz's best position is. He's kind of like,
we know that Havertz isn't the answer. Like at the very least, I think we can say that he's good for like rotation, but he's not the answer. He just can't.
Now, when you look at it, it's like, we have Havertz on the bench. That's really good. I like that. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be much happier. But again, I think this also helps Arteta because I really think Edu Gaspar, the previous sporting director, wasn't really like as what's the word? Like cutthroat with getting transfers in over the line. The new one, Berta, I think his name is.
Berta.
Yeah, Berta. I like the moves they've made, and I honestly have to say, like, I think everybody has had a good window, specifically in the Premier League. I think City have reinforced well. I think Liverpool have really spent a lot. If they get Isak, they probably would say win the window, quote unquote. I think depending on who they signed, you could say. But if Arsenal get Eze now, you got Eze, you got Madueke, who I think Madueke could be a pretty cheeky signing if he does well.
I got a lot of hope for Madueke. I do think he'll be good. I think again, he wasn't being utilized the best at Chelsea.
Yeah, and the Athletic was saying that he had like one of the highest like dribble success rates and like shots on goal. It's just that like he wasn't finishing enough. So do with that what you will. Go ahead. No. Sorry, it could be a very, very good window for Arsenal, and I hope they do well because honestly, as someone who appreciates teams playing good football, I obviously we're not a fan of the tiki taka or Pep Guardiola Arteta school, but a lot of times you'd watch Arsenal and you're like, bro, holy shit! Like if you just had a striker to just make the run in, just a traditional guy, and for God's sakes, like Saka could just find a cross instead of just left, right, and we're back again, and left, right. Anyway, so I think it's a really good move, and I hope he does well because he seems like a nice guy, down to earth. Like he's hardworking. He's had to didn't work in the Premier League, went to Portugal, etc. Yeah, hope he does well.
Yeah, I think you nailed everything else that I would have said, so we can move on and maybe discuss the other two big teams. But I will say, there's reasons to be down on this. Obviously, you talked about Tifo and the Athletic. Some of their coverage has been highlighting how Gyokeres scores his goals. He's relied on penalties at times, et cetera, et cetera. Look, ultimately, the striker market is basically barren. There's not a real good... There's not a player that anybody could buy that you're like, they're going to be good for 20 goals in the Prem right now. Isak's probably the closest, and he wasn't even really in the window until recently, literally a week ago, officially anyways. So, Šeško, I like him, and I think he can be good, but I think Cheyenne nailed it that we haven't really seen his best when the level has gone up. How much of that is Leipzig not being a very good team and the Red Bull kind of factory of talent seemingly slowing down a bit? They were riding high for a bit when they were pumping out Erling Haaland and some others, but it doesn't seem like that pipeline is quite as developed as it once was. I will say, though, it's always dangerous when you take a famous number from a player. Hopefully this signing will be more of a success and not like Mariano. Well, I was going to say Mariano because they gave Mariano the summer that Ronaldo left the number 7 El Tigre. Hey, still the player to score the fastest goal in El Clasico. So that's the legend of the game. Yeah. We touched on Liverpool and City. Obviously, we talked about like Reinders is in Turkey. Liverpool brought in Frimpong, and they brought in Ekitike most recently. We're not doing previews right now, but Liverpool won the league very comfortably last year. Do you think that this window, do you think the other teams, and I guess like City and Arsenal, now that we've seen most of their transfer dealings, have done enough to close that gap? Or do you think, like, does Arsenal need Eze or Rodrigo? People are trying to link him there. Do they need someone on the left? And does City need just a little bit more? I don't know what City could possibly need. I feel like they covered up any gaps they really have. But do you think that we're in for a closer race this year now, based on what you've seen in the window so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year was like, it was pretty one-off. I mean, it's like Arsenal. It was just Arsenal and Liverpool, and at a point, like, you knew that Arsenal just weren't winning. I like the City's moves that they made. Like, I think Turkey's going to fit in pretty well. Obviously, there's been skepticism on there, even from City fans that I've read online. Reinders is one I actually really, really like. I actually wouldn't have minded him at Madrid, even though he doesn't necessarily fit. Like, we need more of like an Angelo Stiller type of player who's kind of like the deep lying playmaker, like kind of Modric Kroos role. But Reinders is one that I've always been really big on, like high energy, box to box, creates offensive chances. I'm really big on him, and I think like he could turn out like really, really well for them. Ait Nouri as well. Like, there's a trend apparently that's going on. There's a video that the Athletic Tifo posted of like the top trends in football now, and touchline wing backs who are like offensive are really, really big now. I mean, you can see it with Liverpool with Frimpong and Gyokeres, and City got Ait Nouri in as well. So that I think is going to be an important signing. But especially if Arsenal get Eze, I really think that all the teams are now saying that, hey, listen, like, Liverpool is there. They have another coach who came in who did just as well. We saw how strong their squad is. They didn't spend the past few years, and now they're spending like a shit ton of more money. They could, especially if they get Isak, then it's like, holy. I mean, unfortunately, they lost Diogo Jota. Rest in peace. Tragic loss in football. Not just for Liverpool fans, but overall for the world of football. But yeah, like, I think every team is up there now, and we're seeing like, even Chelsea spending with João Pedro, and they're even linked with Isak and other players as well. So I think it's going to be much more competitive, and I think they're going to be there. But it's weird. Like, I hear people who say that even with the signing that Arsenal is making, they still think that Liverpool is so far ahead, and they think that it's still just going to be Liverpool City again. I don't really see that, because I think that, especially Arsenal, they've kind of filled in all the gaps. Like, what else would Arsenal need?
They need someone on the left.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Like, I do think, like, right now, if Liverpool don't get Isak, I'm like, okay, this is a 3-team race. Like, I think any of these teams can do it, because, Liverpool are playing with fire a bit the longer that they don't get someone to try to help Salah score goals. You're losing Diaz. They lost Jota, as you said. Obviously, that's a tragedy, not something that they planned on happening, but that's kind of the how it goes sometimes. Salah had a really good year last year, but it was a contract year, and he is getting older. And there's always, once the wheels fall off, like, he's a winger that plays with pace and a lot of strength. If the physical attributes start to dip, it's going to look ugly. And he's not good. Like, he scored at a pretty prolific rate last year, enough that people were putting him in Ballon Ballon d'Or shouts, right?
Yeah.
If they had won the Champions League or won a bit more domestically, those shouts would be even louder. But can you continue to depend on someone going into their middle of their 30s? Like, it's tough. It's tough. So I think with that said, if they don't get Isak, yeah, it's pretty close. If they get Isak, not to spoil any prediction episode, but I find it hard to look past Liverpool at that point. Like, Slot is a really good coach. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, Frimpong's a really good player. They lost Trent, and, like, you know, that's obviously a miss. Liverpool fans cried a lot about it. But Frimpong is going to slide in and probably be better defensively than Trent was. And they still have Elliott behind them. I don't know. They have a very scary squad. I do think that they're going to be really good, and it's hard to look past them. But I do agree. I think that saying that Arsenal haven't done enough, like, they just need a left. Like, they need someone on the left. They need someone to take some of the burden off of Saka.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I think Rodrigo's their perfect player.
But I don't think they can afford him anymore. That's what I'm, like, hearing more.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And, like, I like Eze, and I think Eze did great for Palace. Like, don't get me wrong. I think he did great. But I think Rodrigo, basically, he could be like what Firmino was for the Liverpool front three. Someone who's going to do some of the harder work, sacrifice their own goals just to, like, set plays up, find the space. Like, he's a really smart player, tactically really great on the ball. Like, I think he kind of is their fit. Like, I really do. But
with Eze, I just wonder that I don't necessarily think that his best position is out and out on the left.
I agree.
I think he's kind of like a floating 10. But at the same time, I think just him coming in and putting pressure on someone like Martinelli could, like, force him to play better. We've seen it, happen. Like, pressure for positions is, like, a thing. I have to agree with you with Liverpool, though. If they do get Isak in, then it's hard to say, especially, like, Florian Wirtz is going to light up.
We haven't even talked about Florian Wirtz, and he's, like, crazy. Like, that's for a lot of other teams, that would be their best signing. But if Isak comes in, he probably gets lost in the shuffle a bit again. Like
100%, yeah. I mean, I think he still starts. I think it's probably like
for sure. No,
it's probably Ekitike on the left or Hakpo or Salah on the right again. I mean, Wirtz could even play up top as well. I really think Pep is so mad he didn't get Wirtz. 100%. I think he was his guy.
100%.
We saw De Bruyne. I mean, you mentioned about, with physicality goes down, you see a player like fall. De Bruyne, not necessarily a very physical player, but he did lose physicality in a step and infected his technical traits. So he wanted Wirtz. Yeah. That is perfect slot in replacement done.
If there's something that they might struggle with, it's the fact that they don't have a De Bruyne anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, now we'll see how Cherki does. Bernardo Silva's still there, but obviously he's getting kind of old. And, like, Phil Foden could come back and possibly have. It's possible. I think Phil Foden's so overrated, man. Like, I just can't. Yeah.
I
mean, you kind of see the correlation, right? When they lose a player like De Bruyne and who's not doing as well, and Bernardo Silva doesn't have the best season, a player who feeds off of that, the what's it called, the opportunities and the passes that they make for him, you see how he kind of falls off. But it could go either way with Foden, right? He could be like, he had a bad season, he hits his heights again.
Stop for Iniesta.
Exactly. He could have just been a one season wonder. But it's interesting.
Yeah,
like, I mean, Chelsea's probably still not done. They could still make transfers.
And again, if Chelsea somehow hijacked the Isak transfer, not that they need him, they have to.
Yeah, like, bro, enough.
This is the kind of greed they talked about in the Bible, but I don't know. Yeah,
I wanted to focus on the Isak Newcastle situation, but before we go there, just quickly. How are you feeling if you're a United fan? I mean, they got in like Cunha, they sold Elanga to Newcastle. Apparently now they're linked to Šeško. They got in Mbuemo. Like, would you feel good? Are you still unsure? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure where to stand as a United fan. I'm kind of like, your moves are like a B, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think, look, nothing is going to be solved there until they get the back room in order. Like,
100%.
If they have a coherent transfer policy, if the people making decision making at the top have a coherent plan, things will start to get better. I don't know how good Amorim is as a coach. He did well in the Portuguese league. Obviously, there's a lot of hype. It looks like he has a lot of good ideas, but a lot of coaches have a lot of good ideas. This season, hopefully they give him time to develop. They're bringing in players, but this is a multi-year development. Like, in a way, the worst thing you could do is, like, he starts off bad, then you tear it up again, and then bring in who? Who are you going to bring in? Like, at this point, like, you've burned through most high-profile managers. The high-profile managers who are already on good teams are not going to want to go there. So we have to start treating United almost like a mid-table club. Like, they are Aston Villa. That's even harsh on Villa. Villa were in the Champions League last year.
They're worse.
They're basically like Brentford. They're basically like that level right now. So they have to start building back up. I like all of the signings. I think Cunha is going to be good, and Buemo. If they get Šeško, that'll be great. Because again, I don't think the book is written on Højlund. He's 22 years old. I mean, Fabrizio posted a quote today where Højlund's basically, I want to stay. People forget how young I am. Yeah. You know, I hope that Amorim has spent this summer connecting with his players and being like, look, I'm getting rid of all the ones I hate. Garnacho's leaving. Rashford's gone. I want all these motherfuckers out of my face. The ones that are here, hey, let's start totally fresh. None of that old shit. So maybe that'll get more of a tune out of the players. I don't think they're going to finish much higher than 10th. To me, a great season for them is Europa League football. Like, if you get Europa League, damn, okay.
They have nothing this year, right? It's just Premier League, right?
No, this is Premier League because they lost
one of the greatest Europa League finals.
Yeah. So
wow. Holy, that was bad.
Yeah.
So I agree with your points. Like,
they just need to take steps forward. Like, as long as one of these signings hits in a major way, you know, like, then that's a platform, because it can't just be Bruno Fernandes, man. Even in these preseason games, he's scoring, he's setting up the passes. Like, this man is probably fucking booking their flights out there and getting the hotels arranged. Like, what doesn't he do for this team?
Give me the passport. Give me your passport.
Yeah, it's like a teacher taking the kids. He's got like a big flag. They're all just following him, so they don't get lost. Like, I don't know.
So help Bruno Fernandes, man. Like, holy. I mean, if there's a player I feel bad for, it's Bruno Fernandes. Like, any other team, he'd be lighting it up, and he's still lighting it up at United. Which
drives me crazy when people are like, oh, like, Bruno Fernandes, he's got like this attitude problem. I'm like, yeah, wouldn't you be pissed off if you're doing everything and your team is still ass around you? Like,
if your team sucked and you did everything good, and you'd be happy, jolly days. Yeah, I'm sure.
No,
people are so like insensitive sometimes when it comes to like sports players, because they make so much money. It's like, bro, they're so human, right? And the desire to win is like usually bigger than the money. But anyway,
if you get mad at your rec league because the guy missed a pass that you placed for him, I think Bruno Fernandes might be a little upset. Like,
bro, that's not a foul, bro.
Yeah, like, come on.
I hope they do. With Mbeumo, not to quote the Athletic too much. I mean, we do follow. We like advanced stats and stuff like that. I am reading some stuff that they're saying this season could have been a one-off last year from what the advanced stats are saying. I hope it's not. Cunha is apparently looking like a better fit. They are finding players who fit the system more. 100% though. I was talking with a friend of mine who is a Premier League fan, and he was like, when do you think we'll see United back in those days again? And I was like, I don't think we see it probably in like for a while. It could be something like until like we're in our 30s or something. I think this is the generation of City, Liverpool, and maybe even Arsenal coming up. When we were kids, it was City's garbage. Liverpool is kind of a team that sometimes competes and does like well in the Champions League, but United wins everything. You know, they have to solve so much, like the back room. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good link to the next conversation we're talking about. Like,
yeah, exactly. So with Alexander Isak, we spoke about basically how he's done. He's training at Sociedad. I mean, transfer rumors are coming out more and more, and they're catching more fire that he wants to leave. Eddie Howe is constantly saying that it's not up to me, it's up to the board.
Anytime a manager starts saying that, you might as well start booking that player's passport.
You're done. Thank you. I'm sorry, Newcastle fans. So I listened to the True Georgie and the Kickoff. He's a guy who's from Newcastle, and the Kickoff is like his footy podcast, and he has his own YouTube page. And the rhetoric that he was like spewing is basically that the Premier League is rigged, for lack of a better word. I'm quoting what he's saying, and saying that because the top four of City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and United, quote unquote. I mean, they're still one of the heavy hitters.
Yeah, they're commercially.
Commercially, and they don't want another team to come into this top mix of it. You see, the Saudis, the Qataris, whoever it was, the oil money came into Newcastle, and it was even more than anybody else right now. Like, I mean, we talked about it last episode. I mentioned they could buy Liverpool, sell them for £5, and they would be like, whatever. Like, they have so much money coming in, it's crazy. But they haven't been able to spend because of FFP and the other organization. I can't remember what it's called. They haven't been able to spend properly. They've had to sell, unlike the ways that City spent when they first got bought out, and the way Liverpool and Chelsea, or like specifically Chelsea with Abramovich, and the way Liverpool is spending now, and United is spending in the billions just in general. So he's saying that the higher ups, the powers of the Premier League, don't want another competitor coming in, and someone like Isak basically notices that and says that, well, we can't get signings in. I want a higher contract. He wants like 200 something grand, 200 something or 250 like a week. He's getting like 100 something. So his basic point is that teams like Newcastle or teams like Villa, who even get bought out, they will never really have a true chance to compete. And the one-offs like, the Blackburn back in the day with Alan Shearer, or our generation, the Leicester City, who was people are saying would never happen again, will truly never happen again. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought to me. It's an interesting debate. I think we choose to believe that there's complete like parity in sports, but when you kind of look at it, I think you realize like why in the NBA players sign with the Lakers and the Heat because of the market and the weather there, or why they go to the Dallas because of no tax, and the MLB because why they go with the Dodgers. I don't know. I think we choose to believe that there's complete parity, but at the same time, we have to be realistic. What do you think? Do you think he has a fair point? Do you think he's just being like I mean, as a Newcastle fan, I would be upset. I understand where he's coming from because this was supposed to be them coming back.
So I'm going to start off with a joke. When I was on my travels in England, when I was in Manchester, I was at a bar with my friends, and some Geordies came up to me. They wanted to know if they could grab a seat near, because I was at a table. There was some empty chairs. We were playing pool. It's not important. But we started talking. They're like, "Oh, are you here for the show?" I'm like, "Yeah." Then we started talking about football, because obviously in England, like that's one of the few things like people are always chatting about. And they asked me if I had a team. I was like, "Oh, I'm a Madrid fan." They're like, "No, but like a Premier League team." I was like, "I don't really have a Premier League team." And so then they're like, "Okay, well, now you're an honorary Geordie, like you're like a Newcastle." And I was like, I'd feel bad cheering for Newcastle because you guys are good now. You had a lot of bad years. Like if I jump in now, I'm just riding on like the bandwagon. They're like, no. Like you're a Geordie fan. If anybody tries to mess with you, tell them that we told you, and we're from Newcastle and love. So I think I can speak as a Geordie fan now. No, I think when you look at it, like, look, man, I think you nailed it. There is no big conspiracy. People like to think that because sometimes your team is on the wrong end of decisions, and it's easier to like. I'm not saying that conspiracies don't exist in sports, because they obviously do. Barcelona are in trouble for paying refs. There was the scandal in the middle of the 2000s in Serie A with match fixing. Pete Rose bet on baseball. Hell, this year, fucking Class A also got banned.
Yeah,
he's suspended as they look into it. There's been gambling things in the NBA with John Porter and stuff. So,
oh boy, yeah.
Like these conspiracies exist. Do I think that the Premier League is intentionally keeping Newcastle down? No, I think things go into it. But I also understand why there is that sentiment. Like since we're not in England, we see it. Well, it's just England, and they're all. But like, it's a pretty small island, but still, there's some very distinct differences between the South and the Midlands and the North. And Newcastle's very, very north. And not to make everything like political or bring things back, but like that part of the country was devastated when like Thatcher was in office, or whatever. And she was basically okay with Northerners dying. So there is this idea in their head that the systems are against them because they were against them. And so when the Premier League offices are in London, when all the biggest teams are more south and like in London areas, and like even though United are in Manchester, which is still pretty north, the big joke is that United fans all live in London because they're like one of the big blah blah blah. So like I think like it's natural to be like, well, yeah, it's a conspiracy against us. The reality is more boring. Newcastle were in a bad spot with Mike Ashley as their owner, and it put them in the hole financially, in a sporting sense, and just like devastated like their club. They got this influx of cash. If they were the first team to get that influx of cash, they probably would have been able to skirt the rules a lot more. But the same way that Chelsea got artificially boosted by Abramovich, and then the rules came afterwards after they saw what Abramovich did to try to subdue that, City were the first ones to do it. So City got all this money. They started to bend these rules. I mean, they're in court right now for FFP. Who knows what's going to come of that, but like 130 plus charges or whatever it is. So there might be some punishment for them skirting the rules, but basically because Newcastle are the second team to try to do it, it's easier to stop them because these rules, these guardrails have started to be put in place. And there's also a difference of like when the money came in for the City, they knew they wanted to do a sport washing project. They chose Manchester City, but in their heads, they also knew we are building this club for no other reason than to set us up to win, sports wash, whatever. But they knew they wanted Pep. So everything they did, the upgrades they made to their training facilities, their academy, the backroom staff they brought. They basically brought in everybody Pep would ever want to work with or has worked with or enjoyed working with to this building. And then when his contract came up and he was done with his sabbatical, they're like, hey, we have everything you could possibly want here. And not only that, earlier when we were talking about transfer dealings and whatever, Pep, when he was in Barcelona, had to be the face of Barcelona. Like politically, socially, there was a lot. And he talks about how that pressure burnt him out. They told him at City, you don't have to worry about any of that. All you have to do is play with your little board, treat like your players like your little robots. You're just a coach. You're just a coach. No, honestly. And he wanted that. Right. Yeah, and he wanted that.
So, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but they brought in the Chigi Barexian guy who was like one of his assistants in Barcelona or something, or in the system, and then he's in like jail or something. I don't know, some court stuff going on, like whatever.
Like so, they just built this club basically to be Pep Guardiola's fantasy, and then they brought him in. Newcastle didn't have that plan. Like there was moments in the Eddie Howe tenure early on where they thought they were going to move on from him, and people credibly were linking them to Jose Mourinho and other big name coaches. So there is no plan. Like, it may seem like a conspiracy, but I think Isak is also looking like, look, he's 25 years old. It's not old, but it's not young. He's about to hit his peak. Are Newcastle going to be a club that can compete at the highest level in terms of Premier League, Champions League, all that? Probably not. Probably not. Because to be honest with you, with the rules now, you can't have the kind of window that will flesh out your squad enough in one summer. What you need is an academy that's pumping you enough products to line the team and then jump off from there. Not even because they're all going to make your team, but you sell them off, you loan them, you do little swap deals, all that stuff. Look, we talked about how overrated Foden is, but do City win that Champions League without that year where Foden's really good? No. And who's that? He's a player that came through their academy. Like, it's just that simple. And like this project that Newcastle is building, it's had some highs, and I think they peaked so quickly so early on, like when they almost beat PSG in that night at the Parc des Princes, and they almost made it to the next round. Like if they had made that and made a big push, like I think everybody would, they're here. They're finally here. Like this is what we've been waiting for. But that was probably just an early peak. This is the hard part, It's the same thing with Arsenal. When Arteta first got there, they won an FA Cup. Like they won it within his first year or two, and they haven't peaked since then. It's a slow process. Even with all the money that you could possibly have in the world, it's a slow process. Barcelona were at their height with Messi, Neymar, Suarez. They won the Champions League in 2015. Since then, has their sporting project been good? No. It's just now getting out of the darkness.
Yeah, and like they're still having issues.
And like we just talked about the other United, Manchester. Like they're in basically since Alex Ferguson left, they've won stuff, but they haven't been good. They haven't been like the great project that we know them as. It takes time. It can feel like there's a conspiracy. I just think Isak looked and he's like, look, I'm not getting any younger. He has a history of like hamstring injuries and some like little knocks. Like there's no guarantee the rest of his career is going to be perfect health and he's going to be knocking goals in for fun. There's no guarantee of that. He just wants to compete and win trophies now. And if you ask him, do you think you're going to win a trophy with Newcastle or Liverpool? Like, I mean, to be fair, Newcastle did win a trophy last year, the Carabao Cup. Like, it's a major trophy. You know, like I'm not going to be shitty about it, but like he wants to win a Champions League. He wants to win the Premier League. Does Newcastle give him that chance in the next 5 years? I don't think so. Even if he stays. Now, could it? Yeah, sure. If they make the right signings, if they build the team, they build the squad. But I do think this is one of those situations where he would be the beginning of the dynasty and not see it reach the apex of what it'll be, as opposed to he's in the middle of the dynasty. Whereas if he goes to Liverpool or a club like that, he is the dynasty. Like he's going to be in the middle of the dynasty. And that's an intriguing possibility for anyone. My big question, I mean, I want you to weigh in as well on this, but we know how Liverpool fans feel about their team, loyal fan base. Loyalty is very important to Liverpool. How long do you think they'll boo Isak for being a rat and leaving his team without options at the number 9 position when he moves to Liverpool? Like at least a game, right? A full game of booing.
Like Newcastle fans?
No, Liverpool fans, because Isak's being a rat, and we know that Liverpool don't like rats.
Yeah,
and he's leaving their club. He's leaving the club with no options and in a bad spot. So if Liverpool fans are going to be consistent morally, they should boo Isak. So I just wonder how long they're going to boo him for.
I think that's a possibility, but realistically, I think because Liverpool fans are kind of like, when they don't spend, they complain, but also when they're right now, it's like they're spending so much, they're also kind of like complaining. I think because they realize, obviously, with the tragedy of Jota and the fact that they're probably selling on Nunez as well, they need another guy to come in, because Ekitike is also someone who can fit on the left or the right. Even with him, I'm not sure exactly what his strongest position is. It could be striker, but I think he's still young to figure that out.
Yeah.
So it could be. I think there could be a group of them, you know, like I don't know who just boos him and be like, "Yo, you're a rat." But once he starts scoring goals, it's like, bro, like
that'll be fine.
No one cared.
It'll be fine. Just different.
To piggyback onto your points, I think like generally I agree with what you're saying. It does make sense because we follow other sports and we see it, right? Like, I mean, for the Toronto Raptors to win the 2019 NBA championship, like we were in dark days. Like, I am a Toronto fan mostly because I've born here, but it like I don't necessarily have a team. Like the Lakers are my team because Kobe's my favorite player and Kobe is my GOAT. I like Luka because he reminds me of Kobe, and I was watching Dallas, and now because he's on the thing. But I don't really have a team outside of Toronto because I don't live here. But like the Primo Pasta, Andrea Bargnani days with like Hito Turkoglu as a signing, and like
Hito Turkoglu as the signing was crazy.
Reggie Evans had like 30 rebounds, and we celebrated that because it was like an NBA. There was some dark shit, and it took us having to get a great president and Masai Ujiri and him making some shrewd moves, and Kyle Lowry was supposed to be traded. The greatest Raptor of all time to most people.
Yeah, people forget that. It was the Spurs just didn't want Lowry.
Yeah, they just didn't want him.
And they took DeRozan instead.
Exactly. And then we got a disgruntled star who people weren't sure. And obviously, you know, the Eastern Conference run was amazing. I agree that if in the finals the Warriors are fully healthy, the Raptors, I think they make it probably to 6. They probably don't win.
But who cares? They won.
Yeah, regardless, they won. They won. People are saying we're never going to see that again, etc. etc. I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't. We realize that the Raptors aren't a free agency market. That's why they traded for someone like Brandon Ingram, because they're trying to capitalize on the players that they have and the picks that they have, etc. etc. To focus specifically on the Premier League, I do think that, you know, revenue shares and the amount of money that the top teams have, it does influence the shareholders and the power ups in the Premier League. We do realize that, you know, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, even United, they're not competing as when they used to, but because of their history, they have certain, budgeting and powers and money to spend.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to make it seem like if the Premier League is going to punish a team, it's much easier for them to give a point deduction to fucking Everton or Nottingham Forest or even Newcastle, team that no one really cares about, like outside of the people that are in that fan base. Like Newcastle's starting to go a bit global because of the ownership, and they're doing these preseason tours. And I mean, there's a Newcastle fan group here in Toronto. They go to the NBA bar by on the Queen's Quay. It's getting some exposure, but yes, it's completely. And I don't want to act like there is not any of that. The Premier League is never going to come down as hard on Manchester City, on United, on Chelsea, on Liverpool as they will some of these other teams. It's just not going to happen.
Listen, in every league, just to focus in footy, we know that there isn't full parity, right? Like in the Spanish league, it's always been Real Madrid, Barcelona. For a while, it was Valencia and Villarreal, and then Atletico isn't coming up for a while. In the French league, it's just PSG now, and before it was Marseille and Lyon. We know what the German league is like, but to focus back on the Premier League, I think that it's fair in a way to say that PSR, who's specifically the financial regulator for the Premier League, could have certain biases, and again, it goes back to the revenue sharing and stuff like that. FFE, you could call them biased in that, but I do fully agree with what Ruben is saying, that Mike Ashley was one of the worst owners I've ever seen in the history of sports. What's the Knicks? James Dolan, the Knicks guy.
He was basically that level. Yeah. He was that level.
100%. And yes, you know what? Newcastle fans can complain and say that, but Abramovich came in and did this, and City fans did this. Yes, but that was in a different era. If you just look at general society then, when we did things differently, you could do things differently and say things differently then. The rules have come in, whether completely fair or not, because they've said that, these rules can't be broken. When someone like Abramovich comes in and just the second season comes and starts spending like crazy, it really affects these lower teams like the Brentfords, the what do you call it, the Brightons, and et cetera, et cetera. I think at the same time, people are saying Isak wants to go because this is funny. He's he wants to live in Liverpool. It's Liverpool is really not that nice, especially when you compare it to Newcastle. I think he just wants to go there because Ruben's right. He has injuries. He's realizing that the PSR isn't going to let Newcastle spend the way that he would like and the squad would like as well. So he's listen, I only have so many years left. So, but also I want to compare it to specifically Liverpool. When Klopp came in, they had to hit on signings. Sadio Mane was 30, 50 million. They bought Salah from Roma. They had all these players who come in for low signings, and they developed them. And then eventually they were able to sell certain players on and then generate revenue from doing so well to do that. I don't necessarily agree with people like the True Geordie and Newcastle fans who are saying that Newcastle will never be able to compete. Villa will never be able to compete. I think you have to make an academy. I think you have to develop in that. Take the money from Isak, maybe sign an Ollie Watkins or whoever else it is, and then invest the rest of the money into making an academy and developing young players. And then you can, sell them, do stuff like that, whatever, do switch deals. We've seen even teams like Real Madrid. This is the first window in 3 or 4 that we have spent crazy amounts of money. Yeah. Everybody else has been free transfers, and we have sold a lot of players. I mean, they sold Martin Odegaard to Arsenal, and Arsenal had to bank on this young kid doing well. So I think there is some truth to what he is saying, and specifically True Geordie and some Newcastle fans are saying. The last point I will add on this, that I do think this has truth now, that when these teams like Newcastle, for example, do get more money in and they do get a better infrastructure, when they start looking at certain players and they're linked with them and they sign them, those players for in the future, for example, Anthony Gordon or Isak specifically, nobody really paid attention to Isak. Nobody really paid attention to Anthony Gordon. But now, because they know that Newcastle knows what they're doing, the vultures are going to surround them more when the rumors are linked. So that is an unfortunate reality. That's the only thing I want to add.
It's the same thing. Look, man, there's always a bigger fish. And it's easy for us to say that as a positive thing, I guess, to some degree, when we're the biggest fish. I'm still old enough to remember when Liverpool fans thought they were going to get Tchouaméni, and they thought they were going to get countless other players that ended up going to Madrid.
Mhm.
And it's like that for everyone. And it's to your point. Like, it's the same thing. Like Brighton was the hot new ticket in town like 5 years ago because they were hitting on all these signings that no one really knew. They were buying players really cheap. They were doing a lot of good business. And then the second those players would do really good, they would sell them on and then replenish the squad. But then people started noticing and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to sell Brighton this player that they really want for cheap then. We're going to make them pay a little bit more than maybe they would usually pay. And then other teams are noticing like, oh, Brighton likes this kid. That kid must be good because look at their track record. We're going to go over the top on an offer because we can afford to do it. And that's just the nature of the beast. Teams catch up with you. That's why a strong academy is important. That's why a good sporting director is important. And you have to have, it can't just be one option. That's the one thing we've criticized Pep for last year, the whole season. Like you take out Rodri and then the whole system's broken. That's not a good system. You need to have a plan B and ideally a plan C as well. Like, because gone are the days where a player is going to play every game in the season. Like very, very rarely does that happen. There's too many games. Players get injured. The level, if you want to look at it a different way, the intensity and the physicality of the players has gotten to a level where it's just not possible. So you need to have other options, and that includes in the sporting window. You know, like if Arsenal had dug their heels and the only one they were going to go for is Šeško, then Gyokeres could be a United player, and they would still have a number 9 if they didn't want to make, or they'd have to overpay.
Yeah.
So you have to be fluid. You have to have, you know, and unfortunately, like Newcastle's getting the short end of the stick. It's not good what Isak's doing. I don't like it on a purely like, it's more fun if more teams are competitive. And if Isak leaves, that basically means Newcastle has to buy Šeško. Like they don't have a choice. Yeah,
or like, I don't know, Watkins is the one that comes to mind.
Watkins is another one. But I also, like Villa's done no business really. If they sell Watkins and they didn't bring back Asensio or Rashford, then that team's, they're just giving up on Champions League. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like it's ugly, but
one thing I will say for Isak is that sometimes like staying where you are and being a part of the project is better than taking the big move.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind for me is Coutinho to Barcelona from Liverpool.
100%.
Klopp told him, and I know this because Liverpool fans, I've heard him on multiple podcasts. Klopp told him, don't go, like stay, like you can do whatever you want, but trust me, if you stay, I'll make you so good and we'll win so much. And where is Coutinho now? And wow, Barcelona are still suffering.
To be
from
fair,
that transfer.
Klopp should give Coutinho a thank you because that money got reinvested really well. I think that money turned into Alisson and Van Dijk.
Van Dijk, exactly. So I don't necessarily believe that's going to happen to Isak if he does move specifically. Let's focus on Liverpool.
No, what Cheyenne is saying is Newcastle will win a Premier League and 2 Champions Leagues before Liverpool win anything again. That's what he said.
I sound like the Cavs owner when
he wrote that open letter to LeBron. He's like, "City of Cleveland will win a title before LeBron." Oh my!
Are you sure? Like with Ilgauskas, like, shout out to Ilgauskas, one of my favorite players.
Underrated player.
And Anton Jameson, but like I'm pretty sure the whole locker room was like, "Damn, bro, this guy. Are you sure, dude?"
Guys writing checks that we can't cash.
Yeah, but it could happen. I mean, you never know. I mean, he could just get injured. You know, they play a very high pressing system. It's similar to Newcastle, but there's a lot more games that he's going to have to play as well. We know he's had injury issues. You never know. He could just not fit.
It could just not fit. I mean, that's what happened to Coutinho at Barca. They just didn't have a plan for him. And like, obviously you'd say Slot's a better coach than I mean, I guess when Coutinho went in, it might have been
who was the coach?
Ooh. Was it still Luis Enrique? Or
I think so.
Gone by that point.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's look it up.
Coutinho to Barcelona.
Because it's either Luis Enrique or it was Koeman, right? Those are the two that were around that time.
It was January 2018. Ernesto Valverde. Yeah, I had a feeling
it was Valverde. That's who I forgot. Yeah, Valverde kind of sucks. Yeah. but that's literally it. You know, it's that quick. And like, not to pick on Barcelona, but also it's funny. Antoine Griezmann, same thing. You know, Antoine Griezmann ended up back at Atletico Madrid. Hilarious that he went to Barcelona. Barcelona got rid of Suarez. Suarez goes to Atletico Madrid, wins a La Liga title with Atletico Madrid. Antoine Griezmann has yet to win anything with Atletico Madrid because he is an overrated player who just does Fortnite dances.
Didn't he make like a documentary or something, or a video of like why he's not leaving?
Basically,
he left.
He made a LeBron style decision documentary because he stayed originally when Barcelona had offered him, and then
that 2 years later he left.
Well, it was literally the next season because that season went really poorly. And I don't remember if it was the World Cup, because the World Cup also happened in the middle of this. And I remember people were really upset, like Atletico Madrid fans, because before a game against Uruguay, I think, Antoine Griezmann said in a press conference, basically, yeah, we know how Uruguay play. They play a lot like Atletico Madrid. It's very defensive, very negative. They ride the line. Basically, like slating Simeone's tactics before playing this national team game or after that. It was weird. But yeah, then he moved to Barcelona, did nothing. I think you kind of nailed it. Like, sometimes being a part of the project is better than being the face of it. And honestly, like, a lot of players could take that to heart, right? Like, Neymar was still a great player at PSG, but he never won the Champions League again. He won a bunch of Ligas, never won the Ballon d'Or. Like, we're living in a world where Dembele might have a Ballon d'Or and Neymar might not,
which is wild. Yeah,
and like, I mean, and Dembele is another example of a player that went to Barca thinking that was the next step forward, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult. So for Isak's sake, like, because I do think he's a good player, I hope that whatever he decides works out. I wish he would stay at Newcastle just because, like, it's fun to have another good team, and I guess I'm an honorary Geordie.
I know we got to wrap up, but do you think it's Liverpool? Do you think that's where he's going?
I think that's the only one that makes sense. Like, who else has money for him? Like
Chelsea apparently it could hijack it, but I don't know if that's actually true.
I mean, if Chelsea hijack it, then if I'm Liam Delap, I'm like, why the fuck am I here?
Yeah.
like literally, like, I might as well have just fucking stayed where I was and actually get to play. What? We're not even in the Conference League. I can't even score against Conference League teams.
Liam Delap is like, I'll just go fuck myself.
Yeah, like because like I genuinely just don't, like, they could do it, and I wouldn't put it past Chelsea, I guess, because they're spending money like it's not fucking real. But I genuinely would just ask, what's the point? You have 3 number 9s for what? Yeah. I guess Pedro can play out wide, and like people have said the Delap can play out wide, but why? Just like why? I guess is my question. But fuck it, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe United. Hey, like, apparently they have the money. They have it. Maybe he's not United.
If Isak goes from Newcastle to Manchester, then there's a conspiracy. Then I believe in the conspiracy. It's all rigged. Like, I don't care. Rigged. Why the fuck would you do that? Like, rigged. Yeah. Oh.
No chance. It's all rigged.
No, it has to be Liverpool, or else because there's no other team that can afford them. Hey, you know what? If Newcastle want to do a swap deal, I will give you one brand new Kylian Mbappe, and we'll take Isak.
Wow. You would switch the two
just so I can keep Vinny. Honestly though, if they wanted Vinny, I would probably do that swap deal right now too. Probably makes for a better team, a more cohesive unit.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, we'll talk about it more, but I do agree. Like, Craig Burley said this on ESPN FC. He was like, you have to keep Vinny happy for him to do well. He's kind of like, I don't know, like reminds me of like Dennis Rodman and like Phil Jackson. I was like, yo, just let him do his thing, and like he'll just destroy everybody on the defensive end. I mean, it's not very far fetched. We need a striker, and he's not a striker. So hey, like, we'll give you Mbappe too. Wasn't he rumored to go to like?
There was people made fun of him because like when the Madrid deal broke down, people thought he would never go there because they thought they made a mistake. They thought that Florentino's pride and being rebuffed would make him dig deep and not let Mbappe. And what they didn't realize is Florentino's pride made him want to get it over the line to prove that he should have.
He should have just let it go.
He should have, but yeah, because I remember people were making memes of like Mbappe saying like, "Oh, I've always been in Newcastle."
And
I think there was a clip of him playing Football Manager on the plane with the French national team, and he was playing as Newcastle, or like Griezmann was playing, and then he's like, "Oh, I put you on, Newcastle. I have you on Newcastle." So
I think we're a little over an hour.
Yeah,
we'll
probably wrap up.
It was a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add? Or
no? I mean, we went in deep on the topics we did. There's some rumored transfer still out there, but maybe that's for another episode. I do think we're definitely going to do a preview show for the Premier League, and just stay tuned. We'll bring out more content to you guys.
100%. Yeah, we hope you enjoy it. We'll see where Isak goes. And yeah, he's going to United because the conspiracy is real.
The conspiracy is real. God damn it.
Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends. We'll see you on the next Touchline Banter.
Peace.